Good morning, friends. I hope you're having a wonderful day. Well, last night I was scrolling the internet looking at amaryllis, and you know what popped up on my screen? A dried lavender amaryllis bulb. And that took me down this rabbit hole of covering waxed amaryllis in dried flowers. And I thought, this is awesome. Two of my favorite things, dried flowers and amaryllis. So today I'm going to try to make a lavender covered amaryllis bulb, and then we're going to head inside a little bit later and make an amaryllis Christmas tree. It's going to be a fresh cut Christmas tree. I think I want to use some magnolia, amaryllis, and paperwhites and cover that other old tree that I told you had lost all of the lights. But let's do the amaryllis first and see how it turns out. Usually when you get a waxed amaryllis, it has a stand that's been inserted into the basal plate of the bulb. So I think I'll pull this out to start, and then we'll insert it back in once we have it covered with lavender. I'm really not sure what adhesive to use for this, but I'm going to start with Mod Podge. If this doesn't work, I have some Fabric Fusion inside that I used to use when I owned a knitwear company, and that might work well too and dry a little faster, but let's try this first. I don't know if I said it earlier, but the ad was actually coming from Walmart, and when I clicked on that, it was saying that it was a waxed amaryllis bulb. But if we want to sell these and make a decent profit, it probably makes more sense to use bare bulbs. So we'll do this wax bulb first, and then I'll grab a cheaper bulb from inside that doesn't have any wax on it. We'll cut off the root system, and we'll try to cover that in dried lavender too. So I got really excited when I saw this ad pop down on my phone, and then my imagination just took off. And I thought, I wonder if you could cover a waxed amaryllis bulb or an unwaxed bulb in homemade seed paper. And wouldn't that be a cool gift to save seed from your garden, make seed paper, cover an amaryllis bulb with that, and then give that away as a gift. Then your recipient has the amaryllis that will bloom for them at Christmas. They can rebloom it in subsequent years if they want, and then they could peel off the seed paper, plant that, and then kind of have a second gift in the form of seeds. So our bulb's all covered with Mod Podge. Now I'm just going to roll it around in this bowl of lavender. You could probably even cover an amaryllis with gomphrena petals, maybe rose petals. I mean, honestly, why not even dried hydrangeas? Oh, I'm going to make a mess, aren't I? Let me do it over here. So far so good, but I think I should have put more glue on the bulb. I can't believe it's drying so quickly. I think I'm going to give the Mod Podge a C+. It's holding the lavender on okay, but this definitely isn't something that I would want to sell to the public. Let me go inside and grab my Fabric Fusion glue. It's similar to a tacky glue, but it's even tackier. I think it might do a better job of holding the lavender in place. So let's do a take two on this. You can see it comes out looking almost like hot glue, really. Okay, so here's my takeaway so far. I definitely like the Fabric Fusion better. If you miss a spot, it's a lot easier to go back in and just add in a little bit more Fabric Fusion, versus if I missed a spot with the Mod Podge, then I kind of mess up that whole area as I'm trying to add more glue on. And the other thing I noticed is put a ton more glue on than you think you need, at least if you're doing lavender. Now, if you're doing pressed flowers, maybe then the Mod Podge would work better. But if you're doing dried flower petals, I feel like this Fabric Fusion is working well. So now that we did some that were encased in wax, let me grab a bulb from inside that does not have wax on it, and let's see how that goes. Rocky, don't go on there. You can't go on there anymore. You can sit in the chair, but you can't walk on the mantle anymore. Oh dear. Rocky? Rocky, you have to sit in a chair. There you go. Good boy. So now let's try it on an unwaxed amaryllis bulb and see how it works. I did cut off most of the roots. Those roots will all regrow when we take this off. And I chose this bulb in particular because it has some of the papery outer scale intact still. So when I go to peel off this glue, that should be fine because then it will just take off this outer brown scale. The bulb is essentially shedding scales as it grows, so it doesn't need this papery outer brown scale anymore. So in terms of making money off of these, a smaller bulb would be better. And I like it too because then it will take less lavender and it'll weigh less at the end. Oh yeah, much easier to work with this smaller bulb. And it actually seems to be sticking better too. Okay, hands down, that is the way to go. A smaller bulb, a bare bulb. The lavender adhered to it like a dream. It only took about 30 seconds to get it on here versus when I was working with the wax, and I'll probably end up cutting out a lot of the pauses. It was kind of slipping off the wax. Even when I was using the fabric fusion, it just didn't want to grab the dried lavender. But this bare bulb really, really worked out beautifully. And you know, I don't even think it needs a stand. I think just pick a bulb that stands upright on its own and you'll be good to go from the start. So this is just a temporary amaryllis display. The bulb has everything it needs in it to bloom and put out leaves, but as soon as these blooms fade, I will remove this glue, the wax, everything else, pot the bulbs up and start to water them and treat them as houseplants so that I can get them to bloom again in subsequent years. But an amaryllis is completely fine out of water, out of soil, even out of light for I would say probably about 2 months. It has all the energy, the nutrients, and the moisture it needs inside the bulb to push out these initial leaves and blooms for you. When it needs to photosynthesize, that's when it needs the light. And of course, once it starts to grow roots, it needs the nutrition from the soil. But you can get this temporary display without sun, without soil, without water. As long as you're working with a new bulb from a reputable supplier, you're good to go. So I'll keep you updated on these bulbs. I'll make sure I show you Aquaro in bloom. And then when I go and take off all the wax and all the dried flowers and the glue, I'll make sure to include you on that as well. But for now, let's head inside and work on another Christmas tree in my dining room. The lights on this tree decided to go out this year, so I decided to string some blue lights on it, and then I added on some warm white fairy lights. So here's my idea. We have a cryptomeria in the yard, which is getting pretty big, and it always drops these dead branches from the center, and I end up cleaning them up almost all year. So I gathered a bucket, and I thought we would make a spiraling garland around the tree with that. And then I got out some of my water tubes, and I thought we would use amaryllis and paperwhites as ornaments on the tree. Now that might not be enough at the end of the day, so if we need more copper, we can go outside and cut some willow. But let's start there and see how things look. So Grace has got our gardening gloves. Grace, what are you doing? What's going on here with these? Is this yours? Does this belong to Grace? Gracie, are you ready to decorate? Okay, put your gloves on. All right, we're ready to go. Gracie, did you steal the Christmas ball? Let me see. Grace, you have a whole box of toys right here. You want to trade? No way. I got the cryptomeria on the tree. I think it looks great, but now that I see it on the tree, I'm thinking about putting more blue ornaments on this tree and maybe keeping the other tree completely gold. But let's put our paperwhites and amaryllis on before we decide about that. I just cut the amaryllis off the stem there. And so now we can insert that into the water tube. And I will have to change, or I will have to refill these water tubes daily, possibly twice a day, but the amaryllis are actually fine out of water for a day or two. Now I can just put them on the tree wherever we like. So I got about 12 amaryllis on the tree and I think maybe about 10 paperwhites. I also decided to take one of these magnolia garlands and disassemble them and put that on the tree. I think we need some more lights on the cryptomeria itself. So let me show you what it looks like and get your thoughts. So this is what it looks like with just the fairy lights on. I'll turn the blue lights on tonight and get your thoughts on that. Here comes Grace to get her Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. So what do you think? I think if we ran some fairy lights along the line of the cryptomeria, that would help it look a little more finished. I ended up taking off about half the cryptomeria because I felt like it was getting a little bit too dark. So all we ended up adding was the amaryllis, the paperwhites, some gold balls, some blue eucalyptus, excuse me, and some icicle lights. And I thought this looked really nice. Grace is talking to us. Gracie, what you want to say, love? I think the amaryllis basically look like magnolias. What do you think? So here's what it looks like in the evening. Grace is having her nightly cheese snack. How was it, Grace? Good? Thanks for all your help today. Well, friends, thanks so much for hanging out with me today. I will update you on the lavender amaryllis bulb and the amaryllis wreath in probably about a week or two when they start to bloom. But until next time, happy gardening. Bye.